Comment on the video, where are people watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Late morning sunlight spilled through the stained glass windows of Hawthorne Academy's grand foyer, illuminating the polished marble floor and gilded pillars. At the center of the marble atrium stood Amelia Hart, her auburn hair pulled into a low braid and her expression calm as she reviewed the announcement board. The Academy, known for its lineage of wealthy alumni and ornate architecture, often felt like a gilded cage, its students cloaked in designer uniforms and whispered rumors. Amelia, new to the school, carried an air of quiet confidence, a stark contrast to the haughty pretense around her. Unbeknownst to the throng of privileged teenagers, Amelia was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and had trained in various martial arts since childhood. Her past life in a small Midwestern town had been humble. Local tournaments, rigorous discipline, and a supportive coach who had instilled in her both strength and compassion. She arrived at Hawthorne determined to carve her own path, not to become a target for the Academy's unofficial hierarchy. From the shadow of a Corinthian column emerged Derek Thornton, Hawthorne's notorious enforcer, a senior who ruled the student body with intimidation. He was tall and broad-shouldered, his designer blazer stretched over muscular arms. Rumor had it that he hailed from one of the wealthiest families in the region, yet he used his privilege to bully those he deemed unworthy. As Derek's polished loafers clicked across the marble, a hush fell over the students clustered near the bulletin board. Amelia glanced up and met Derek's gaze. His ice-blue eyes narrowed as he stepped into her path, folding his arms across his chest. Around him, a ring of sycophantic onlookers formed, eager to witness his latest conquest. The marble floor reflected their stares like an unforgiving mirror. For a moment, time seemed to slow, the distant chime of the school bell, the flutter of a silk scarf, the faint scent of polished wood. Derek cleared his throat, his voice echoing against the vaulted ceiling. Well, look who decided to show up, he drawled, a cruel smile curling his lips. You're in my foyer now, newbie. This is my territory. Amelia's heart rate remained steady. She inhaled slowly, recalling the mantra her coach had drilled into her, control the moment, control the outcome. Her posture stayed relaxed, shoulders down, hands at her sides. She refused to show fear. I'm just checking the schedule, she replied evenly, her tone soft but resolute. No harm in that. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Derek's smirk deepened. He took a deliberate step closer, the marble cool under his polished shoe. I think you need a lesson in respect, he said, voice low. Amelia felt a familiar surge of awareness, the weight of her stance, the distance between them, roughly 6 feet, the potential escape routes around the pillars. She met Derek's challenge with calm eyes. I respect people who earn it, she said. Your move. And with that, the tension in Hawthorne's grand foyer reached its breaking point, the silent promise of confrontation hanging in the air. Amelia Hart remained composed as Derek Thornton's entourage closed in. The marble beneath her feet gleamed, but Amelia perceived the slightest grain in its surface, a reminder that even the most polished exteriors can conceal rough edges. Around her, students whispered and shifted, forming a semicircle that spotlighted the unfolding drama. Derek's friends, Lucas, a lean swimmer with shark-like teeth, Harrison, a stocky athlete with a perpetual sneer, and Connor, the youngest, his eyes wide with eager malice, flanked him. Their matching gold-embroidered ties and monogrammed blazers signaled their shared allegiance. Each step they took echoed through the foyer, amplifying their arrogance. Move aside, princess, Lucas sneered, stepping onto Amelia's left. He let out a hollow laugh, as though he expected her to crumble. Harrison cracked his knuckles, the sound like distant thunder, while Connor hovered at the rear, fists clenched. Amelia's pulse remained steady at 58 beats per minute. She scanned the environment, a decorative fountain to her right, a grand staircase behind Derek, and an exit corridor lined with banners at her back. Her breathing stayed measured, each inhalation a practice in focus. I said, move aside, Derek repeated, his tone colder now. He leaned in, the sharp scent of his cologne cutting through the foyer's floral aroma. "Or I'll make you." He raised his chin, daring Amelia to refuse. Amelia shifted her weight subtly onto her right foot, planting her stance. "I'm not going anywhere," she said softly, voice carrying an unspoken warning. A murmur rippled through the onlookers. They had expected a timid newcomer, not this quiet resolve. Lucas lunged forward, shoving Amelia's shoulder. The impact rattled her balance but did not break her composure. Amelia steadied herself, feeling the mesh of her uniform shirt stretch against the shove. She could feel the heat rising in her cheeks, not from anger, but from the surge of adrenaline. She recognized the signs. Lucas's arm had extended fully, leaving his center of gravity exposed. With a controlled pivot of her hips, Amelia redirected Lucas's momentum, guiding his arm in a smooth arc. He stumbled forward, his own shove carrying him off balance. Amelia's foot tapped the marble, anchoring her as Lucas flailed past her and collided with a gilded pillar. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Derek's lips parted in shock. "What?" he stammered. Harrison advanced, but Amelia's calm gaze held him at bay. "Don't push me," she warned, her tone low and steady. Harrison hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his face. Connor swallowed hard, glancing between Amelia and the retreating Lucas. Derek's arrogance flickered, replaced by irritation. "You'll pay for that," Derek spat, but the certainty in his voice had cracked. Amelia exhaled slowly, her eyes never leaving his. "Try me." In that charged moment, the stage was set for an escalation neither had anticipated. Derek Thornton's jaw clenched as Lucas crumpled against the pillar. He stepped forward, eyes blazing, determined to reassert dominance. "You think you're some kind of hero?" he growled, voice low enough for only Amelia to hear. Amelia met his gaze without flinching. "I think you should stop testing me." Her tone was calm, but her body thrummed with readiness. Behind Derek, Harrison and Connor closed ranks. Harrison's massive frame cast a long shadow. His knuckles whitened as he clenched his fists. Connor, though smaller, let out a tense breath, his youthful aggression barely contained. The foyer's marble glinted under the afternoon light, transforming into a silent battlefield. Students edged closer, their phones raised to record. Amelia's senses sharpened, the echo of footsteps, the faint scent of polished stone, the electric charge of anticipation. Derek threw a quick jab toward Amelia's midsection. She twisted her torso, the punch grazing her side but landing on the thick fabric of her uniform. Amelia countered with a palm strike to Derek's bicep, pushing him back 2 steps. Harrison charged, attempting a powerful hook. Amelia ducked under his swing, her braid swinging past his face. She planted her foot, delivering a precise elbow strike to his ribs. Harrison gasped, the wind knocked from his lungs. Connor lunged next, wild and unpredictable. Amelia sidestepped, her boot catching his ankle and sweeping his legs out from under him. He crashed onto the marble, sliding to a halt with a sharp crack of fabric. Derek's face twisted in rage. He lunged, grabbing Amelia's arm and attempting a throw. Amelia countered by leveraging his grip, rotating her hips and sending him off balance. With a controlled shift, she guided him to the floor, his designer loafers skidding across the marble. A stunned silence followed. The 3 boys lay scattered, Lucas dazed, Harrison clutching his side, Connor sprawled near the fountain. Derek knelt, one hand on the floor, his pride in tatters. Amelia straightened, breathing evenly. The echo of her movements resonated through the foyer. She looked at Derek, her expression unreadable. "This ends now," she said softly. The crowd erupted in applause and gasps. Phones flashed as students captured every angle. Derek's friends scrambled to their feet, but none dared to advance. Derek rose slowly, his face a mask of humiliation. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. With a final glare, he turned and stalked away, his entourage in tow. Amelia exhaled, the tension ebbing. She smoothed her uniform and glanced around at the watching students. Some nodded in respect, others stared in awe. A low murmur spread. Hawthorne Academy had just witnessed an upset for the ages. And at its center stood Amelia Hart, unyielding, unbroken, and undeniably in command of her own story. Amelia Hart stood her ground as Derek Thornton's cold glare bore into her. The polished marble foyer, once a quiet crossroads of student life, now crackled with tension. Derek took a deliberate breath and stepped forward, the smooth leather of his loafers squeaking on the marble. His hand rose in a slow, taunting arc and he shoved Amelia's shoulder with enough force to shift her stance. The shove was unexpected, more aggressive than the first. Amelia's training kicked in instantly. Her feet were planted in a wide, stable stance, knees bent slightly. She absorbed the impact, her center of gravity dropping, and countered with a swift pivot. In a single fluid motion, she slid one hand across Derek's arm, using his momentum against him. Gasps rippled through the assembled students. Cameras emerged from pockets and bags, phones recording every heartbeat of the confrontation. Derek's eyes widened as Amelia's other hand found his elbow, twisting it gently but firmly. He stumbled forward, off balance. Amelia's foot swept under his center of gravity, and with a precise heave, she flipped him through the air. Time seemed to slow as Derek's designer blazer flared open and his arms windmilled helplessly. The world held its breath, the echo of his gasp, the whisper of his shirt against his skin, the sharp crack as he landed on his back. Marble dust puffed around him like a halo of humiliation. Amelia remained motionless for a heartbeat, breathing evenly. She had executed the throw with perfect technique, no wasted movement, no unnecessary force. Derek lay prone, his face flushed, eyes blinking in stunned disbelief. His entourage froze, Lucas's jaw hung open, Harrison's fists clenched, Connor's phone dropped with a clatter. A beat passed. Then the foyer erupted. The roar of reaction was instantaneous. Students who had lingered in polite distance now surged forward, their cheers and laughter reverberating against the vaulted ceiling. Some stamped their feet in approval, others raised their arms in victory gestures. A chorus of whistles and whoops filled the space, punctuated by the rapid clicks of smartphone shutters. Amelia remained still, her breathing controlled, as she surveyed the crowd. She saw faces alight with exhilaration, classmates who had once looked past her now offered nods of respect. A group of seniors exchanged high fives. Even the faculty observing from the periphery could not hide their astonished smiles. She took a deliberate step forward, her polished Oxford shoes echoing in the sudden silence that fell over Derek's fallen form. With measured grace, she crossed her arms and leaned on one hip, looking down at him, not with malice, but with quiet authority. The marble floor reflected the scene like a dark mirror. A ripple of laughter swept through the crowd as Amelia extended her hand downward, as if offering Derek a chance at dignity. He did not take it. Instead, he curled his fists, his face contorting with embarrassment. His friends hovered behind him, uncertain whether to help or flee. "Stand up," Amelia said, her voice calm but carrying through the hall. "And remember that respect isn't demanded, it's earned." For a moment, no one moved. Then Lucas, cheeks reddened, stepped forward and yanked Derek to his feet. The three bullies dusted themselves off, their designer blazers askew, ties loose. Derek straightened his collar, but his eyes avoided Amelia's. The crowd parted like a wave, giving them space. A girl in a silk scarf raised her phone and called out, "Replay that, please." Others laughed and chattered, replaying the mental footage of Derek's flight through the air. Amelia turned away, her expression unreadable. She walked back to the announcement board, as though nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. Yet every step she took resonated with newfound confidence. As the buzz continued, a teacher finally stepped in, calling for order. Students reluctantly dispersed, but clusters remained, replaying the scene on their screens and exchanging animated commentary. Amelia retrieved her bag and slung it over one shoulder. A few students approached, some to offer congratulations, others simply to witness the quiet strength that had undone the academy's most feared bully. She smiled politely and exchanged a few words, then slipped away down a side corridor, the echo of applause still ringing behind her. Behind her, Derek Thornton and his friends retreated to the student lounge, nursing bruised egos and battered pride. The memory of the flip, and the crowd's reaction, would linger long after the marble dust settled. By the next morning, Hawthorne Academy's digital ecosystem was ablaze. Videos of Amelia Hart's flawless jiu-jitsu throw flooded social media platforms. Clips ranged from slow-motion replays to dramatic black-and-white edits with suspenseful music. The hashtag #AmeliaFlip trended in the school's private chat groups, then spilled into regional high school forums. In the cafeteria, students crowded around tables, phones propped up against soda cups. Laughter and commentary mingled with the clatter of trays. Even teachers found themselves drawn to the spectacle, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others nodding in appreciation of Amelia's skill. Amelia herself remained modest. She arrived at school early, passing by bulletin boards plastered with printouts of screenshots. Her poised stance, Derek mid-air, the moment of impact frozen in time. A handmade sign proclaimed, "Hawthorne's champion," in bold letters. Another read, "Teach me that move." A group of underclassmen approached her at her locker. "Miss Hart," one stammered, "would you give us a demonstration after school?" Amelia smiled and nodded. "I'll set something up," she replied. "But it's not just about the move. It's about awareness and control." Word spread, and by afternoon, the school gym buzzed with anticipation. Amelia arranged mats along the floor and set up folding chairs for observers. She invited anyone interested, athletes, artists, even faculty, to join her for an introductory martial arts workshop. The turnout exceeded expectations. Over 50 students showed up, chattering nervously. Derek Thornton's name came up in hushed tones, some curious, others resentful. But Amelia kept the focus on fundamentals, stance, balance, and respectful interaction. She began with warm-up drills, guiding participants through stretches and footwork exercises. Her instructions were clear and patient. As she demonstrated each movement, the crowd watched intently, impressed by her fluid technique and calm demeanor. During a break, the school's video club president approached, camera in hand. "Amelia, can I record your session for the school website?" he asked. She agreed, setting aside a corner for him to film. Soon, footage of her teaching spread through the same channels that had popularized the flip. Comments praised her leadership and the positive spirit she brought to the school. By week's end, small training circles had formed in corners of the courtyard and gymnasium. Students practiced wrist escapes and basic throws, guided by Amelia's gentle corrections. Rivalry gave way to camaraderie as pairs worked together, laughing at mistakes and celebrating progress. Even Derek Thornton observed from a distance. He watched Amelia's class through the gym door's glass pane, his arms folded. There was no sneer, only a guarded curiosity. The spectacle of her generosity and skill challenged everything he had known about dominance. As the sun set on another day at Hawthorne Academy, Amelia Hart packed up her equipment. Her phone buzzed with new messages, requests for one-on-one sessions, invitations to speak at assembly, and congratulations from parents and alumni. She paused at the gym entrance, looking back at the mats scattered with water bottles and footprints. A sense of purpose warmed her. The viral moment had been a catalyst, but the real work, building community and fostering respect, was only beginning. Humiliation breeds vengeance, and Derek Thornton was not one to accept defeat quietly. The following morning, he cornered Amelia near the lockers, flanked by Lucas, Harrison, and Connor. His eyes, once cold with arrogance, now glinted with calculated intent. "Hart," he said, voice low and controlled, "you've made quite a name for yourself. But this isn't over. I challenge you to a rematch, In the gym, after classes. Amelia met his gaze, her expression calm. A rematch? You know I'll accept any fair challenge. But this isn't about proving strength. It's about respect. Derek's lip curled. You'll see what I mean. 3 against 1, no interference. He turned and stalked away, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. The trio of friends exchanged uneasy glances. Lucas shifted his weight, Harrison's jaw clenched, Connor fidgeted with his tie. Word of the challenge spread rapidly. By afternoon, the gymnasium doors were plastered with handwritten flyers, Amelia versus Derek, fair fight, no holds barred. Students buzzed with excitement and apprehension. Even teachers took notice, and Principal Montgomery received a flurry of emails. Montgomery found Amelia between classes. I've heard about the challenge, he said. I want to ensure it's conducted safely and fairly. You'll have supervision, and any infractions will be met with disciplinary action. Amelia nodded. Understood, sir. I just want a clean match. That evening, the gym transformed into an arena. Folding chairs lined the perimeter, and a simple boundary marked with tape formed the ring. A handful of faculty, including Coach Ramirez and Ms. Rivera, stood ready to oversee the event. A small table held water bottles and first aid supplies. Derek arrived, flanked by Lucas, Harrison, and Connor. They wore matching black athletic gear, faces set in grim determination. Amelia entered alone, her black GI crisp and her belt tied securely. The contrast was stark, 4 figures against 1. The crowd hushed as Coach Ramirez raised his hand. Fight clean. No weapons, no illegal moves. Touch gloves if you will. Derek stepped forward and extended his fist. Amelia touched it lightly, then stepped back. The tension peaked. Derek struck first. A quick jab aimed at Amelia's ribs. She parried and countered with a low sweep, but he jumped back. Lucas cheered from the sidelines, but Harrison and Connor remained silent. Round 1 unfolded in cautious exchanges. Derek's strikes were powerful but lacked precision. Amelia's counters were fluid, her footwork nimble. Each time Derek overextended, she exploited the opening, a wrist lock, a gentle but firm push, a sweeping step that unbalanced him. By the end of the first round, Derek was breathing heavily. His friends shouted encouragement, but the advantage was clear. Amelia's calm discipline contrasted with Derek's growing frustration. Between rounds, Ms. Rivera offered Derek water. Remember, Derek, respect and control, she reminded him softly. He nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. The second round began with more aggression. Lucas and Harrison yelled instructions, urging Derek to press the attack. He lunged, attempting a shoulder throw, but Amelia anticipated it. She sidestepped and executed a textbook hip throw, sending Derek to the mat with minimal force. Silence followed the impact. Derek lay on the floor for a moment, then pushed himself up. His face was red, but his eyes held a grudging respect. In the final round, Derek fought with renewed resolve. He landed a solid punch to Amelia's shoulder, eliciting a murmur from the crowd. Amelia shook off the blow and replied with a swift armbar attempt. Derek tapped out, signaling his surrender. The gym erupted. Some cheered, others gasped. Derek rose and approached Amelia. The noise dimmed as he extended his hand. Amelia grasped it firmly. Thank you, he said, voice sincere. I see now what you mean about respect. Amelia nodded. It's not about winning or losing. It's about how you fight. That night, Hawthorne Academy students buzzed about the rematch. Derek's challenge had been met and mastered. But more importantly, the showdown had forged a new understanding, between former adversaries and across the student body. News of Derek Thornton's respectful concession spread quickly. The gym match became a turning point, an emblem of fair competition and mutual respect. Students who once viewed Amelia as an outsider now sought her guidance, not just in martial arts, but in conflict resolution. A week later, Amelia organized an informal self-defense clinic in the courtyard. A line of eager participants formed, including athletes, scholars, and even some of Derek's friends. The session focused on situational awareness, de-escalation techniques, and basic holds. Lucas stepped up first, his shark-like grin replaced by genuine curiosity. Amelia guided him through a wrist-release drill. Harrison and Connor partnered on a balance exercise. Even Derek joined, working alongside Maya Collins, who had once been a target of his taunts. Amelia watched with satisfaction as the group practiced respectful interaction. The air buzzed not with hostility, but with cooperation. When a stray ball rolled near the training area, a passerby returned it without prompting, proof that the academy's culture was shifting. By the end of the session, the courtyard felt transformed, laughter mingled with focused instruction, and students left with a sense of empowerment. Amelia packed up her mats and water bottles, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the grass. As she walked away, she heard a voice call, "Thanks, Amelia." She turned to see a group of freshmen waving. She smiled and waved back, her steps light. The academy's grand foyer and echoing gym were no longer the sole stages of her journey. True change had begun in the open air of the courtyard. The next morning, Hawthorne Academy buzzed with a new headline, "Amelia Hart crowned honorary captain of student council." A banner in the hallway proclaimed her achievements, undefeated in fair competition, ambassador of respect, and champion of community. At the assembly, Principal Montgomery invited Amelia to the stage. The auditorium erupted in applause as she accepted a ceremonial sash and medal. Derek Thornton stood beside her, offering a proud nod. "Amelia's leadership has shown us that strength and compassion go hand in hand," Montgomery announced. "She reminds us that true influence comes not from intimidation, but from integrity." Amelia addressed the students, her voice steady. "Thank you. My hope is that each of us can stand up for ourselves and for others, without resorting to fear or force. We are stronger together." The crowd rose to its feet. In that moment, Hawthorne Academy's unofficial hierarchy dissolved. Cliques mingled, athletes chatted with artists, seniors high-fived freshmen. Later, in the courtyard, Maya Collins approached Amelia. "You really changed things around here," she said softly. Amelia shook her head. "We changed things together." Derek joined them, extending a hand to Maya in a gesture of genuine friendship. The three shared a moment of camaraderie, symbolizing the Academy's new spirit. Weeks passed, and life at Hawthorne Academy settled into a new rhythm. The memory of the foyer confrontation and the gym rematch had faded from sensational gossip to inspirational legend. Amelia's workshops continued, and student-led peer mediation groups sprang up. One afternoon, Derek Thornton found Amelia in the courtyard. He held a stack of flyers for an upcoming charity event. "I was hoping you'd help me organize self-defense demonstrations to raise funds for the local community center," he said. Amelia's eyes lit up. "I'd be honored." As they planned the event, their collaboration embodied the transformation they had sparked. Students volunteered to set up mats, coordinate schedules, and promote the fundraiser. On the day of the event, families and neighbors gathered in the gym. Amelia and Derek took turns demonstrating techniques, explaining the importance of respect and awareness. Maya Collins led a group discussion on bullying prevention. By the end, the fundraiser surpassed its goals, and the community center received a generous donation. But more importantly, the event showcased the power of unity. Afterward, as Amelia packed up her gear, Derek approached with a small gift, a handcrafted wooden plaque engraved with the words, "Strength with Honor." "I made this for you," he said, his voice sincere. Amelia smiled, touched by the gesture. "Thank you, Derek." He paused. "I used to think strength was about dominating others. You showed me it's about lifting them up." She placed the plaque in her bag. And you showed me the value of partnership. They walked out of the gym side by side, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows. Behind them, Hawthorne Academy stood as a testament to their journey, from conflict to collaboration, from fear to fellowship. And as they disappeared down the tree-lined path, it was clear that some people, like Amelia Hart, were never to be underestimated.